everybody. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to make a short video. Again, I like to keep most of my videos short. Um, oh, I guess I should introduce myself. That's right. The name is Musing Mind. I go by a couple other names, but for right now, that's the tag I like. Um, anyway, I wanted to talk today briefly about the importance of actually having a belief system. Now, I know that sounds like an odd topic or like perhaps an odd piece of advice for people, but I actually feel that a lot of people, because they have a lot of pain or a lot of traumas surrounding religion, or just, even the sense of hopelessness of sometimes praying to a deity, praying to God, praying to whatever, and just not seeing anything coming of it, or just having a sense of hopelessness sometimes in the world. I'm sure we've all experienced that at one point or another. But I do feel that it, nonetheless, choosing to have a belief system, and by belief system, I don't mean religion. I don't mean necessarily being Christian. I don't mean necessarily being pagan, necessarily being spiritual, necessarily anything like that. What I mean by that is more so along the lines of having things that you would fight for, if that makes sense. Ideals that you feel passionately about, or truths that you feel are worth upholding, if that makes any sense. um, Now, what do I mean by this? Or another example, I suppose, would be, or, scratch that. We all have examples of what the fuck a belief system is. Pardon the French. I apologize. Um, but what I do want to touch on more specifically is why it's important, why I feel it's important. Now, the reason I feel it's important to have a belief system, or to believe something to the point of, acting upon it or acting for it, is because if you don't, then you are going to be easily led between one thing or another. Kind of like the air. If you're not grounded in one specific way of thinking that you believe is actually true, and it could be anything, frankly. If you want to believe that doing bad things to people is never going to do you any harm, and that's what you think is necessary for you to get by, then go ahead. But I can probably guarantee that that's going to give you a lot more, you know, it's going to give you a lot more consequences or probabilities of disaster than just trying to lead a more peaceful existence. But anyway, not trying to abdicate for for Buddhism or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is simply, if you don't have your own set anchor of beliefs, then you are going to be easily swayed into doing things that you are going to regret. Now, that is something that I'm sure many of us have experienced, that we let ourselves be swayed one way or another because of the moment, because of peer pressure, because we don't know necessarily what's right and what's wrong, because we've been through so many terrible experiences in our life, and people invalidate those experiences all the time, or we don't let ourselves validate those experiences all the time. So it's very easy for our realities to become distorted in the sense of, like, what is right and what's wrong. We live in a society where a lot of things that shouldn't be right are acceptable, so therefore we believe that they are right. So what I want to instill here is, find out what you believe is right and make that your belief system. You don't have to follow any belief system that is out there. You don't have to become a Christian. You don't have to become a Jehovah's Witness. You don't have to become a Buddhist or a Wiccan or anything. You don't have to become a witch. You don't have to become spiritual. None of it. What you do have to, I think, for your own moral sanity and your own like emotional well-being, because I believe that one of the biggest reasons that we develop a lot of like emotional heaviness and gunk and, you know, just traumas and shit in our head is because, uh, excluding children obviously, because, you know, I'm sure a lot of us have also experienced terrible experiences as children that we have to carry and find another way to purge. But anyway, the point apart, um there's a lot of actions that we choose to do as adults because we're not sure of what we think is right or wrong. And if we were to sit down and truly evaluate um, a situation from a third party perspective, like, you know, separate ourselves from what whatever role we're playing in that situation, and really look at whatever, like if we're having drama in our life, or we're having a bad experience, we're having a bad time with somebody, if you're having, you know, a bad time with your partnership, a bad time at work, blah blah blah, separate yourself from the situation. And you know, when you're able to look at it, you can really look at what's right and what's wrong. And sometimes you'll find that you're not really upholding even your own ideals, you know. When we develop that belief system and we hold ourselves to it and others to our belief, you know, just hold the world in a sense, um, to a realistic belief system. Or like, you know, for example, I think it's wrong to abuse, or, you know, yeah, physically beat the shit out of a child. Let's go to that extreme, right? Or physically beat the shit out of an animal for no reason. For any reason. I really don't think that unless you're defending yourself, I don't really feel like there's a need for violence. But anyway, another point apart. Um or revenge maybe. But anyway, I do feel that uh we if sometimes we're led to actions that, you know, we can overlook a lot of things because we don't think it's as bad as it is, because, you know, we've been taught so much to not acknowledge the gravity of the things that have happened to us sometimes. So it's easy to lose sight of what's right and what's wrong. um, Now the only reason I say this is because sometimes I think that we feel lost and we're not sure what to feel. Like, you know, I know I believe something, or I believe in science, but science is just fact, right? And well, and what do we know are facts? Like, for example, children who suffer sexual, physical, emotional abuse, neglect as children, develop all kinds of mental issues and illnesses and etc. You know, growing up, and have problems, with themselves, with self-image, with etc. And that, you know, we just look at a disease and stuff like that as something that has no origin, when really it does. And when we develop our own belief system, that then we hold ourselves accountable for our own actions, and we can hold others accountable for things that we know are wrong, like by fact. You know what I'm saying? Like, a child abuse factually affects people their whole lives sometimes. You know, some people live and die unable to cope with some of the things that have happened to them. So I hope that this video made sense to some people. Um, I don't really have a label for myself other than, you know, perhaps that I practice witchcraft and stuff like that. I believe in everything, sort of. I don't know how to explain that, but all I mean to say is if you're the kind of person that sometimes feels lost and just kind of drifting, and sometimes you find yourself doing things that you regret a lot, and you just find yourself in situations that you don't want to participate in, then find that belief system, find those limits, think about those limits, write those limits down for yourself. Like, if you have to make your own fucking rule book, your own little Bible for yourself, because there's a reason that there's, you know, all the holy scriptures and blah blah blah. The Ten Commandments are only the beginning of what they say is right and wrong in Christianity, etc. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's plenty of laws out there. So create your own laws to hold yourself to, because I feel that that will kind of help you anchor yourself and help you avoid situations that will make you suffer in the long run, because you'll end up doing things you regret. You'll end up hurting yourself, hurting somebody else emotionally without intending to, because you're also just doing things without thinking, you know? Think about what things you want to, what truths you want to bring into reality more, you know? Or, I hope that makes sense. But either way, I hope that this was a fun couple minutes to kill with me, a little discussion to have there that I wanted to throw out into the multiverse. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope that everybody's having a wonderful summer or winter wherever they are. And peace to y'all. Much love.